everyone, and welcome back. So, in this weekly video, we're going to be talking about bodies. So, before we did these heads right over here, if you could see that, we did the face and broke that down week by week. I also did a video of about a 30-minute video of like a rundown of the face all together. So, if you missed those other videos, you can catch up with that one. But now we're going to talk about bodies. Alright, so what I usually like to do is use my little wooden figurine, and I couldn't find it. So I'm going to draw one for you. Okay, so basically our bodies are broken down into different shapes and joints where they bend. Okay, so a joint would be where the two bones meet on a smaller bone for them to rotate around, right? So like my wrist meets up with my hand, and so right there I'm able to bend it. But here there's no joint, so I can't bend this part of my arm. And if it did bend, that would be bad. It would mean my bones are broken. Alright, I have a joint here, so I can move that part of my arm. We have some on our shoulders, right? So you can move your body around and figure out where are all those joints located, right? Like, or with my hips, I'm able to move back and forth right here, okay? Or where your legs connect to your body, you can move right there. Move your knees, your ankles, and your fingers, right? So with your fingers, I have the joint there, but then I also have joint there and there to like curl my fingers. Pretty cool. Okay. So, alright. So those little wooden figurines would look something kind of like this. So it would have an oval head. Okay, and we talked about in our video that like the top part of the head would be bigger, and then it would be smaller towards the bottom for the chin, the jaw. Right, so I'll go in and I'll do that a bit more of like a head shape. There you go. Okay, and then once we have the head, then for our figurine, here I'm going to see if I can move my screen and pull up. Okay, so we have our first joint, which is the neck, right? So the neck would be right here, and you could make it more of like, I like to imagine the joints as like circles so that I can move around on that circle, kind of like one of those Dyson vacuums where it has like the vacuum and then it has that circle, the ball, so that I can like pivot all and like move around all kinds of directions. Then we have our body. So we have that line across the top for the shoulders, and then it comes in and cuts off, kind of like a trapezoid. Not quite like a rectangle or square. The top is wider and it's more narrow right here, because this would actually be like our ribs, right? Where our ribs are. Then right in here we have another ball, a pivot point, we have our hips, okay, which come out kind of like so, right? Because we have our hip bones that come out, and then we have our legs that come down, right? But our hip bones have this like ovalish shape. Okay, so and you can make it more squared if you want. And right now, my hips on my person are a little bit slanted, right? And you can have them be straight on, or you can have them slant. Or if you want, you can have it come down a little bit more narrow for men. Women have wider hips. Okay. So for men, you can have it be more like that. Okay. All right. Head, circle for the neck, the pivot point, rib cage, your upper body. This is the waist, another pivot point, and then this is the hips. Okay, and I'll make this more straight on too. And then we can talk about, angling our figure. Okay. Then, right over here, we have our shoulders. Okay, so there would be smaller circles right up here, because those are pivot points. Those are the shoulders. And then you have your upper arm. Here, I'm actually going to have it come down on the sides, because your upper arm comes down right to your hip, right? So you could even do like another little circle right by the hips, and then you'd have your upper arm, and then your lower arm would come like just right below the hip bones. And then I do lines to connect. And then your hands. And we'll just do like little U shapes for now for the hands. Okay, notice that I have a little bit larger circle, and then it gets a little bit smaller and smaller for the wrists. Then right in here, we have 2 joints for our legs. Okay, so the length of the legs would actually be the same length as the upper body. So this whole bit right here, we're going to move down to here. So if you wanted to like measure it and then move it down, that will give you a more proportionate body. About halfway down are the knees. Okay, so we have your thighs that come down, and then you have your calves, and then you have this little joint here for the feet. All right, we'll just do those as like these. Okay, so that is the breakdown of the body. All right, so you can see that at these points is where things bend. So if I wanted to go in and do, here, let me get another piece of paper. Okay, hold on just one moment. I'm going to pause this and get another piece of paper going to show you that you can move and position the body differently. And if you have one of those wooden figures at home or in school and you know what I'm talking about, get it out. Okay, so you can do this. This is a little bit more like jumping a couple steps, right? But if you have one of those wooden figurines, you can look at it. This is what they look like. Let me darken up. The main thing to keep in mind are those pivot points where things can move. All right. So say that you wanted to do a body in movement. So let's say that we want to draw someone that is someone who's dancing. Right? So you can break it down even more and say I have my head kind of turned to the side. It's really turned to the side. Hold on. Okay. So my oval for my head. All right, and then just below that, I have my arms. And you can figure out if you want your shoulders to be straight back and forth, or maybe I want my shoulders, usually they kind of follow the direction of the head, right? So if I have somebody and they're leaning this way, then the shoulders usually don't go the opposite way, right? So like if I lean like, so if I sit up straight-ish, my head is straight up and down, my shoulders right here, straight across. But if I lean this way, you see how this shoulder goes up and this one goes down, so it kind of follows the direction of my head. Right, so say that those are my shoulders. And maybe I want my hips to go straight across. Right. You can have it be a stick figure, right? You can have the lines come down. Do your circles. Maybe I want my stick figure to be dancing up here. So maybe I'll have them like going like that with their arms above their head. Right, so you can start with the lines. And then down here, and this is a pivot point, right? That the hip would actually be like right there. So this is the pivot point right above the line. That's the pelvis. That's like your, if you feel the side of your hips, there's like this bony part that sticks out. This is where the legs connect to. Right, so then I would have my kind of trapezoid shape right here. And then I would have this shape come down. Maybe I want to do, for my legs, maybe I want to have one leg that comes, let's see, straight down, and one that like goes out like this. So I have where it connects to the hips, goes down, I have my ankle, a little foot, and then I have this one that bends out at the knee, back out. I'm going to do my ankle, and I'll have my foot come down like that. So they're dancing or falling over. Okay. So from there, then that's where you can go in and you can start to thicken things up, right? So say I have, starting up here, I'm going to add in my neck, which curves in and down to my shoulders. Right? And then I have my arm that would come up right here to my elbow. And over to my wrist. Same thing with right here. This would come up and connect. And then to my wrist. And we'll just keep our hands as like these, like U shapes for now. Okay. And then right in here, my body would come down and connect to the hips. Right? It kind of curves in a little bit right there where that pivot point is, and then back out again. And then men's are much more narrow, like that. Now, if it was a woman, it would come out a little bit wider because women's hips are a little bit wider. Okay. All right. Okay. So, I made my head just a little bit bigger and my neck a little bit wider because I decided that this would be a man, right? And then I also realized that from the head down to here, my foot should come down a bit further, like right down to here. So I'm going to make that come down a little ways further. Move this down a little bit. Okay, so we would have our leg, and the leg meets right in here, right in between those circles. So I'd have my leg come down to the knee, and then down to the ankle, and then I'll just do like my foot going out like that. Okay, and then my other one would come down this way, and this should actually be a little bit longer since I made the other leg longer. Okay, so now you see that you can make bodies in motion and figure out proportions, right? And after you've done all that, you can go in and you can erase all that stuff inside. And I would say that the easiest way to do this too would definitely be to have somebody to look at if you don't have one of those figurines. Okay, so if you don't have one of those figurines, you know, maybe somebody could stand up in class and do a pose, right? And really quickly you could say, okay, well, this person that's standing up in class, I'm going to start with their head, and then maybe their shoulders are angled this way, and their hips are angled that way, And I'm going to draw a line that goes down the center. That would be the spine. Okay, are their legs going straight down? Or maybe their legs are like coming in towards each other. Where are their arms going? Maybe they're coming down like so. And you can do like a quick rough sketch and then add in things like the neck and the shoulders. Okay, where you have your shoulders that would have a bump. Right, those pivot points usually have a bump other than right in here where it curves in. Okay, and the elbow that has a bit of a bump. Remember, your elbow comes right about to that hip. Your forearms come down just below your waist. And then you would have those hip joints, your knee joints, and your ankles. Those circles, connect them, and have them come down. You could have a little bit more of like a bump out for the knees. And then you have your person in a pose. Alright? So just basic tricks to help you figure out how to do stuff that's more proportionate, and start with a stick figure and figure out where their hips and their shoulders are angled to. Right, this one's just straight across on both of them. Straight across. But you could even do one that's straight across here, but right here their hip is bumped up. Let me try and do that a little darker. Right, so then there's like a curve to their body. Right, so, and then maybe it's a woman, so maybe it curves in and out a little bit more with wider hips. And then, maybe that comes down, and that comes down and out. So my knees, then my ankles. Okay, so then, connecting those joints. And adding in the neck. Maybe I want to have, this arm propped on the hip, and then this one just hanging down. So I would have the arm come down, and then my hand, and then right over here it would have this come down and just my hand hanging down. Okay, so you can change the angle of where things go for different poses. All right. Whew. So I am going to I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to stop the video here for like this skeletal breakdown of body and movement, and then I'm going to make another video about like breaking it down into proportions, kind of like the lines that we did for the face. So if you want to do that, you can. Okay, well, I'm going to stop this one and I'll make another one. If you want to, you can watch it. You don't have to, but just some tools to help you guys start to think about different ways that you can draw bodies and things that you can do to like help with that. All right, bye-bye.